Sandy here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am playing with some fun Brutus Monroe products. I'm playing with some Chroma mists and this mixed media stencil. It is the Space Invaders stencil and I love it. I specifically requested the stencil because I knew I wanted to use it with some Buzz Lightyear photos. So these are not the best photos. This is definitely blurry. It's not the quality of the print. It is actually that blurry on my camera, but I want it. I don't mind scrapbooking not perfect photos for sure. So I'm going to use the stencil, I'm going to use the Chroma mists, and I'm going to use these two photos. So let's see what I can do. Okay, you guys, so I have my paper inside of a cardboard box. And it's just a cardboard box that I like to spray my mixed media into. So I'm taking all of my Chroma mists, actually not all of them, I did not grab the yellow one, and I am just saturating the paper, and I decide to do it straight up, that way I can get a little bit of drips and some fun things. So I keep alternating spraying the Chroma mist and the water, and I'm just making it darker because the mist is seeping into my paper. Now I could have done this if I would have gessoed the paper, then you probably wouldn't want to stand it up because it would slide right on off of that gessoed paper. But you know, gessoing is another step that I have to wait to dry and I am impatient. Now you can see I am completely saturating this paper. Now this is not something that you would necessarily have to do, but I was just having so much fun spraying and seeing it get darker and bolder and more beautiful that I was just having the time of my life, guys. I also don't feel the need to hoard supplies, especially consumable supplies like this that could evaporate, dry up, go bad, anything like that. Any kind of mixed media supply, I want to use it up before it dries up or goes bad. And I don't mean like goes bad like it's like gross or anything. It's just, you know, sometimes if you don't use your stuff, it just gets not good. Do you know what I mean? Like, use your stuff, people. Just use your stuff. So as you can see, I am completely obliterating this paper. It is sopping, wringing wet. And I don't have a problem. Like I said, I'm using a lot of Chroma mist. I can always buy more. I want to use up my stuff so I can buy more stuff anyway. So I am really just kind of moving around my box now so that some of the coverage just moves around a little bit, just moves around. So it does kind of look a little ridiculous. I am going to blot up some of the excess that is sitting on top of the paper with my paper towel. Now I'm just laying it down there to pick it up. I'm not rubbing it whatsoever because I don't want anything to smear around. I just want to pick up some of the color that is left at the top. So it kind of looks like a mess. Like, I admit that. Like, right now this looks like a mess. It totally does. But I promise you guys it is not going to be a mess. And like, it is completely wet. You can see I have soaked the color through completely. So I am going to put my mixed media mat down, put my paper down, and set it off to the side to dry, and this is what it did. So now I have two sides of the paper that I really could use because I put so much of the Chroma mist onto my cardstock that it just soaked through and became part of the paper. So now I have this gorgeousness and I just have to figure out what I'm going to do to wrap up making this kind of a spacey galaxy type background. So I grab a Distress ink in Black Soot. You can get that off the Brutus Monroe website. Now you can see that I have used it so much I have even re-inked this ink pad, and I don't normally do that. I'm just brushing it on, and I chose to use a brush instead of a sponge dauber because I feel like a brush, you have a little bit more control with how heavy you lay it down. So when you're using a brush, it's going to be a little bit lighter than than if you were using a sponge dauber, because you would get a lot more direct black ink on there. So I'm just making it darker in some areas, and then in some areas I'm not using such a heavy hand. I want it to really kind of remind you of space. I don't want you to feel like, what am I looking at? I want you to be able to see, wow, this looks like a space layout. Now, I know, guys, like I'm telling you right now, you might not still see the vision, but I promise, when it is finished, the vision is there. So this would definitely not be a good layout to do for a live video. I did wait completely overnight for my paper to dry because seriously, saturation is real. I also made sure to put that paper on that mixed media mat, which I'm using underneath of my paper right now. And that's because I didn't want the paper to dry to anything else that was paper, because I felt like that would have been, kind of a travesty. So use your mixed media mat. This particular one is from Brutus Monroe, and it is amazing. This is my second mixed media mat because I was kind of, a little bit lazy and cut up my other one accidentally when I was cutting things. So yeah, oops. Don't use a blade on it. Use your mixed media on it. Little PSA for the day. So now I've got that going on, I can start to see the galaxy background. So I grab the Chroma mist in white, and I'm just going to dip out the spray tip and kind of splatter white around. And the white, some of it, because of how much splatter goes on, some of it will kind of sink in and be lighter, and some of them are going to be more of a whiter, brighter pop of color. Now, if you especially wanted super white dots on here, you could go ahead and use a white gel pen. I decided not to do that because I liked what I had going on. So now I have the Space Invaders stencil, and you guys, I specifically asked to have the Space Invaders stencil because I had this idea. Now, my original idea was not a galaxy background, so that kind of like upped my idea, but I wanted to emboss through the Space Invaders background. So I'm taking my stencil and I'm taking my embossing ink pad, and I'm just making sure to line it up, and I am embossing right through the stencil. Now, if you have a large enough stencil, meaning your stencil has large enough holes, this works out fantastically. If your stencil is super intricate, might not work out as well. And then I am also layering up and adding a little bit more. So I just keep maneuvering my stencil around so that I am in line with the other little Space Invaders spaceships. And then I just go ahead and keep on inking. Now, I'm not going to ink the little Pew ship at the bottom yet. That will be last. I don't know exactly where I want him to go. So there we are. I have my embossing powder. This is in Raven, and I definitely need to order more of this, you guys, because holy moly, I'm almost out of it. I know I've been saying that for a couple weeks now, but I need to place that order because I just need to. Last time I placed a Brutus Monroe order, I completely forgot about it, so I need to make that happen in my life. So I go ahead and put the embossing powder all over. I put it right back into its jar and set it off to the side. Now I am going to use my heat gun, and I do use a little Swiffer to get any stray embossing powder up really quickly. I do have some stray marks and some stray lines where my embossing ink pad hit around the stencil. So I just wipe those off with a paintbrush, a dry paintbrush, you guys. And now I'm going to go ahead and emboss. And this is the magical part I mean, all of it feels like magic. Like we did a spray mess, basically, and it turned out to a really cool kind of nebula type sky. And now I am embossing all of the little spaceships here. I wish I would have held the paper at a different angle so you could see the magic happen. I love watching the magic happen on the videos, and it kind of stinks that it's not so much magical, but you and I both know that it's happening. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure all of my embossing powder is nice and smooth and melty. And now I've got that going on, and I wasn't angry at my paper, I was just kind of drying it. So now I'm going to go ahead and tear off the bottom because that portion was never meant to be used anyway. I just didn't know how I was going to make it happen. Now go ahead and place this down on some black cardstock. And my paper is a little bit warpy. I mean, you would be warpy too if you had that much water dumped all over you. I mean, that's just the way it is. There is a lot of water on my page, so you got warpy. Now, warpy doesn't bother me. For one, my layouts go into albums that I pack pretty full, so they kind of flatten out. Not too tremendously worried about it. Now, I have my two photos, and they are here, and I'm thinking, okay, I like where this is. I like that you can see a lot of the Space Invader little ships, but I need something. So I pull out the Watercolor Galaxy paper pad, and I trim down my photos just ever so slightly. That's because my photos are 3x4, and I'm using a 6x6 paper pad. So I want it to be able to use one sheet of paper for both of the photo mats. And if I didn't trim down the photos a little bit, if I put the photos on top of the paper pad right next to each other, then I would have had 6 inches of photos on top of 6 inches of paper pad, and that won't work for me. So I go ahead and layer these bad boys up. I'm just adhering them down now, and I'm like, oh, I love this so much. And I have to say, I'm super proud of that Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin score, you guys. It's the highest score I've ever gotten, and it was rocking and amazing and all the things, and I'll probably never ever do it again. So I do decide to go ahead and emboss the little Pew Pew guy down here, and I do that with clear embossing, or not clear, white embossing powder. It is alabaster, because I really wanted contrast between the Pew Pew ship and all of the little Space Invader ships that are up at the top. Like, I wanted you to actually be able to see the difference. So I grabbed my Simple Stories foam alphabets, and you can get these from the Brutus Monroe shop as well. They come in multiple colors. Now, I don't have any more E's, so I used a 3 kind of upside down and backwards, and I'm okay with that. Now, if this looks funky to you, then you're going to want to use a letter sticker that you have enough E's for. I'm okay with this. I do go ahead and title it There Should Be No Shock, because I've been calling it the Pew Pew ship for a while now. I take a white gel pen and just draw up the little pew pews that come out. And that's only because I didn't emboss them when I embossed the Pew Pew ship. I forgot to. So I just wanted to make sure that that was going to be visible. I am going to add another letter. I decided to call it Pew Pews because that's what we call it around this house, like it's a pew pew gun. Especially a Space Invader gun actually sounds like pew 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 pew. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. And then I am titling it Lots of Pew Pews because that is what happened to get that score. I'm just using a black and white tiny tile letter sticker here from my stash. I didn't want it to compete with anything. I definitely want the top of the layout to be the best. Now I also went ahead and added some die cuts and put in a few themed stickers to go there. The dies that I used are also from Brutus Monroe. You get the metal dies and you get to put your spaceships together. So there it is, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again real soon for another video.